Let's start with turning the mic on. Welcome. I'm happy to see everyone here, and thank you for taking your time to come out to this very, very important night in our district. I'm Debra Tannoy, and I am the Fairport Schools Developmental Asset Coordinator, and I also serve in that capacity for the Fairport Parrington community. So I have been given the opportunity to be your host this evening, and tonight is an opportunity for you to hear from our 6 school board candidates to help you decide who will best represent you on our school board. The forum is designed to provide each candidate an equal and fair opportunity to express their positions and answer the questions submitted. Our school board members take an oath of office, advocate for public education, they create and revise district policies, study issues and regulations, vote on issues affecting our district, and promote public education in our community and beyond. And each member serves without pay. And for that, just being here this evening, I want to thank the incumbents as well as anyone who is willing to do that for their community. I want to go over the process that we're going to follow this evening. We have our awesome leadership asset facilitators. They're representing a group of over 200 kids that get involved in leadership. They are going to do a brief introduction of each candidate, and then the candidates are going to have an opportunity to share a 2-minute candidacy statement with you. This will be followed by questions and answers. You've all been given a card, and feel free to write a question down, and either Miranda or Taylor will be happy to pick it up and bring it forward. We will have the candidates have 1 minute to respond to each question, and each candidate will begin, will start with a different question. They will all 6 answer the same question, just start in a different orders. The questions that we have prepared a couple in advance, and we also will welcome you to make sure that you submit what you need to know. Once we conclude the question and answer segment, then each candidate will have 2 minutes to give their closing statements. We will end by 8:30. So with that said, again, welcome, and I am going to have Jordan begin our evening.
Good morning. Wow, sorry. It's been a long day, folks. It's been a real long day. Anyway, good evening. My name is Jordan O'Connor. I'm a sophomore here at Fairport High School, and it is my pleasure to introduce to the Board of Education candidate Renee Frazee. Renee Frazee is a special education teacher for the Greece Central School District. Her family is comprised of her husband, Donovan, and 3 children, 2 Fairport High School graduates and a current junior at FHS. She is also an FHS graduate herself. Ms. Frazee has a Master's of Science in Reading from Nazareth College and her Bachelor of Science in Elementary and Special Education from Damon College. She has stated, as a parent and lifelong member of the Fairport community, I care deeply about the future of our schools. Throughout our children's education, I have advocated for what is in the best interest of our students. I feel compelled to extend that support to our community by serving on the Board of Education.
Hi, my name is Piper Bailey, and I am a senior here at FHS. It is my pleasure to introduce Board of Education candidate Joyce Kostik. Joyce Kostik is an early childhood consultant for the Children's Institute. Her 2 adult sons are Fairport High School graduates. Ms. Kostik received her Bachelor of Science from the University of Connecticut. She has stated, as a strong proponent of public education, I am committed to Fairport students and staff. I have a lifelong belief in and commitment to giving back to our community. Having volunteered in many capacities, none has been more rewarding than giving voice to our students and taxpayers as a member of Fairport's Board of Education.
Good evening. My name is Sam Shriver, and I'm a junior at Fairport High School. And tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce Board of Education candidate Kevin Glover. Kevin Glover is a service analyst for MKS Instruments Incorporated. He and his wife, Mary, have 2 daughters, both members of Fairport High School's class of 2016. Mr. Glover received his Master of Business Administration from the University at Buffalo, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the University at Buffalo, and an Associate of Science in Business from Corning Community College. He states that Fairport School's reputation for outstanding educational opportunities is one important reason that my family chose to move here. I believe we can address issues head-on for the ultimate benefit of the community.
Hello, my name is Skylar Thomas, and I am a sophomore at Fairport High School. It is my pleasure to introduce Board of Education candidate Margaret Cardona. Margaret Cardona is an international adoption caseworker for Hillside Children's Center. Her 6 adult children are all Fairport graduates, and 11 of her 13 grandchildren are currently enrolled in Fairport schools. Ms. Cardona's education includes doctoral coursework in educational administration from the University of Rochester, Certificate of Advanced Study in Educational Administration from the College at Brockport, Masters of Science in Speech Pathology, and Bachelor of Science in Speech Pathology from Nazareth College. She states, "It has been a privilege to serve on the Board of Education 6 years, and I would value the opportunity to continue to serve you and our students for the next 3 years."
Good evening. My name is Jack Fortner, and I'm a sophomore here at Fairport High School. It is my pleasure to introduce Board of Education candidate Petra Evans. Petra Evans is co-owner and office manager for Stonehaven Miniatures. Her family includes her husband Michael and 5 children. 3 children are currently enrolled in Fairport schools, and 2 toddler-age children will attend Fairport schools in the future. Mrs. Evans' Bachelor of General Studies in English is expected with graduation in 2017. She also has her Associate of Science degree from Utah Valley University. She states, "I want to be an advocate for our children and teachers to help them to continue to provide unique and remarkable learning experiences. I have been impressed with Fairport schools."
Good evening. My name is Emma Maxshara, and I am a junior here at Fairport High School. It is my pleasure to introduce Board of Education candidate Marcy Hosford. Marcy Hosford is a global business applications manager for Garlock Sealing Technologies. Mrs. Hosford and her husband Murphy have both children attending Martha Brown Middle School. She has her Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Nazareth College. She states, "As a parent of 2 children in the district, I have been thankful for all of the opportunities available through which I have seen my children grow and blossom. Joining the Fairport Board of Education last summer has increased my appreciation for what it takes to create and maintain the district we have today."
Good evening. My name is Holly Maxwell. I'm a sophomore at Fairport High School. It is my pleasure to tell you about the library trustee candidate, Christopher Marone. He is a candidate for the Fairport Library Board of Trustees, and he is a senior portfolio manager for Alexco Advisors. He received his Bachelor of Arts in Economics from SUNY Geneseo and Chartered Financial Analysis designation from CFA Institute. His family includes his wife, Heather, and 2 sons in Fairport schools. He states, "My prior experiences on the Board of Trustees reinforced the value that quality library services bring to our community, as well as the importance of equal access to technology, information, and educational resources. Mr. Marone is running unopposed, and we wish him great success on the Fairport Library Board."
Thank you, students. Great job. Now we'll give an opportunity for each of our candidates to give a 2-minute candidacy statement. They're seated in order of what order they are on the ballot. So we're going to start with you, Renee.
Press the button.
Yep.
I apologize if my voice projects really loud because I have a loud voice to begin with. But anyway, as you know, my name is Renee Frazee, and I just want to start out by letting you know that I am a lifelong resident of Fairport. I've lived here, born and raised right here in Fairport, New York, and I chose to raise my family, and my husband and I chose to raise our family here in Fairport. And I'm going to start out, and you might think this is kind of corny, but Whitney Houston says, and I agree, that the children are our future. And that is something that I truly do believe. And I also believe that all children can learn in their own way. I have been in education for 30 years. I'm going into my 30th year teaching. And everyone asks me, well, are you getting ready to retire? And I technically can retire in 3 years. I'm eligible for retirement. And I don't see myself retiring in 3 years because I absolutely love what I do. And as they say, teachers are down in the trenches, and I am. I love getting down and dirty. And with that being said, I chose to run for school board because I want to ensure that Fairport can continue to provide the high quality of education for all students. I was a part of that back when I started in kindergarten in 1970 when I enrolled here at Jefferson Avenue, and then I was one of the first classes to go to Dudley. And it was here at Fairport, the teachers that I had, particularly my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Feinberg, where I got my desire to become a teacher. By 10 years old, I knew that I was going into education and I wanted to be a teacher because of the inspiration and the role models that I had here at Fairport High School. As I said, I chose to raise my family here, and what I do believe is one of my strengths is bringing to the Board of Education, and I've spent a lot of energy and my focus at Greece Central in curriculum and understanding the students. Over the 30 years in my teaching career, I've seen the dynamics of children change and how the educational world has had to keep up and change with the changes of the students. Ding. Caught me at a good time to stop.
I'm Joyce Kostik, and I have lived in Fairport for over 30 years, where I've raised my 2 sons, who received a very high-quality and very full education here in Fairport. As Piper mentioned, I work for Children's Institute in Rochester, and my work there brings me to spend most mornings or full days sometimes in elementary classrooms around the state, and although mostly in the city of Rochester. And I do that sometimes doing research, sometimes doing assessments, I wear a variety of hats in my work at Children's Institute. It has been my honor and my pleasure to serve on the Board of Education. And during my tenure, I have served as president, as vice president, and I've served on many committees in the district. I currently serve on the Policy Committee, the Technology Committee, and the Monroe County School Board's Legislative Committee. With the Legislative Committee, I have advocated for our students, our staff, and our taxpayers, which is a very delicate balance, trying to do what's best for all of those groups. As a strong proponent of public education, I have been to Washington. I visit the local offices of our state and federal legislators on a regular basis, and I regularly go to Albany as well. When I'm in Albany, I meet with the State Education Department. I meet with the Governor's Budget Office, and just about anyone with whom we can get appointments. I regularly try to meet with either the Senate or the Assembly Education Committee members so that I can get in there and have a say for our Fairport group here. I'm active in the New York State School Boards as well, where I take a lot of seminars and webinars so that I continue to learn and continue to try to be a better board member.
Perfect timing. My name is Kevin Glover. I would like to thank you, first of all, for inviting me to participate in this Meet the Candidates Forum, Ms. Tannoy and the asset leaders. I think all of us can agree that education is a public good. I know that firsthand because I grew up in a large family. My father dropped out of high school in order to join the Navy to go fight in World War II, but he encouraged all of his children to go to college. And all of my siblings have attended college, and there are a lot of us. And 3 of my siblings are educators, teachers or administrators, and 2 of their spouses. And currently one of my sister-in-laws is part of the administration over at SUNY Geneseo. So we have some intimate knowledge of public education and the power that public education has to change lives. My mother had a teacher who was a mentor and a life coach who completely changed the trajectory of her life. She became a registered nurse for 40 years and is currently in retirement in Oswego. Both of my children graduated from Fairport Central School, and they received an excellent education, something that I'm concerned about continuing on, and that's why I'm running for the board. I happen to be a team player, and since the board is a corporate entity, no individual has power on the board. Decisions are made collectively. And even so, I like to think that as a team player, first and foremost, I'm an advocate for students and for those who educate those students. Academics are one part of a well-rounded education, which includes arts and athletics. And I guess that's about it. Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to talk with you tonight. I'm Marty Cardona. You'll see my name as Margaret on the ballot, but only my mother ever called me Margaret. So just remember, it's still me. So I have lived here in Fairport for 46 years, pretty much all of my adult life. And I'm proud to say I have 6 children, all of whom attended Fairport schools from kindergarten through 12th grade, and then went on to college and lived in some pretty exciting places like Los Angeles and Denver and New York City. But when it came time to have their children, they all moved, well, 4 of them, I should say, of the 6, moved back here to Fairport, and so I do have 11 of my 13 grandchildren involved with the Fairport schools. One of them graduated, and he's in college, but the rest of them this year attended 7 of the 8 Fairport schools. So that gave me, you know, kids always tell the truth. Sometimes their versions are a little bit more detailed than the adults, but it's been wonderful to hear from them all the great things that happen in their schools this year. The only school we're missing, in case you wondered, this year was Northside, but several of them have attended Northside and one will in the future, so we'll cover all of our bases as time goes on. I am a career educator. I spent 28 years in education, some of them as a classroom teacher, some as a speech pathologist, can't say that now, and some as a special ed administrator and a building principal. And I'm so thrilled to say that my last 13 years were here in Fairport as principal of Brooks Hill, where I retired 6 years ago. And since then, I have been involved with the school board. As you heard in the introduction, I now work at Hillside Children's Center part-time, continuing the work I've always done in international adoption. In terms of volunteer work, I'm on the executive board of Joining Hearts and Hands, working with Kenyan Orphans, Love the Children, a post-adoption support group, and through the board, I'm involved in Unite Rochester, working on issues of poverty in the city, policy committee here, and what else, something else, district planning team, looking at the future of the district. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Petra Evans, and I am probably the newest person to here to live in Fairport. My husband and I have lived in Fairport for 4 years now. We have 5 children. Our oldest is at JP, and then we have 2 at Brooks Hill. We chose Fairport, specifically chose Fairport to move here, mainly because of the schools. We value education. Our oldest has been in many different schools, and so we've had lots of experience with different schools, and so it was really important for us to find a place where we could raise our family, where the schools would be quality and would continue to foster a love of learning for them. I am currently, my husband and I are small business owners, and we work with several companies here in the Rochester area to do our business. I do a lot of customer service with that company and help to budget and deal with a lot of little administrative tasks. I'm also finishing up my degree. 5 children kind of delayed that, but I'm getting it done now because I find education important. So even though I didn't take a traditional route, I'm still there in the end to get it done. Outside of work and school and being a mom full-time, I do a lot of volunteer work. I have experience with working with different groups of people that don't share the same opinions. I have experience with teaching young children. I have experience with the Cub Scouts, spent some time there. And I have experience with working with public outreach and with welfare in the poor areas. I love school and I love education, and I find it to be very, very important. If I didn't think it was important, I wouldn't be doing it, and I want to be a part of the great spirit that is here in Fairport. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Marcy Hosford, and I've been in the district since graduating college, so since I've graduated from Nazareth, I just stayed in Fairport since then, and as you heard, I have 2 children in the district, and I've been so lucky to see them grow and blossom and all the opportunities that they've been afforded. It's been such a pleasure, and I spent time in their elementary years in the school. They went to JA, and I tried to be as involved as I could there. And now that they're in middle school, it's kind of like I'm not needed anymore there. So joining the board and wanting to be on the board was to continue my involvement in the school district and to really do more than just for my children, but for the greater community. It's been a privilege these last few months that I've been on the board. I have learned so much about what it really does take to run a district and all the different things involved, and I'm amazed every day at all the people involved in that process. As a member of this community, I'm motivated also as a parent to ensure the rewarding experience for all children in the future. And I really believe in the concept of servant leadership for me, and I'm dedicated to the growth and well-being of people and the community to which I belong. Advocating for students is one of the primary roles I feel the Board of Education has, but one of the things I realized early on is the importance of the teachers in our district. I realized that my children spent almost more time with teachers during the day than they did with me sometimes, as a working mother, and just how much time they spend there. So really wanting to support the teachers in this district as well is very important so that they can continue to do the wonderful job that they're doing.
Jordan, I'm going to share this with you. Thank you very much for helping us to get to know you a little better. We now will have our question and answer portion. If you have a question, we have Taylor in the back here and Miranda over there, who were kind enough to come tonight and hand out our cards. So if you pass them on to them, we'll make sure that we can try to get to all questions. So Jordan?
All right. So, beginning our questions for each candidate, by the way, so we're all going to answer. We're going to start with candidate Joyce Kostik. Ms. Kostik, what motivated you to seek a position on the Fairport School Board and why?
Well, I've been on the school board for a long time, and I was motivated to do it when my children were a little older so that I was able to have the freedom the time commitment requires. And I thought about it for a long time, and it was actually one of my sons who gave me the final push by saying, "Mom, no one else could do that any better than you can, so you may as well be the one to do it. You need to run." And he helped get signatures, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. It's a lot of work, to be sure, but it is rewarding, and I truly believe in public education. And although I don't any longer have children and I have no grandchildren in our schools, I just want to see them continue to be the strong schools that they are and keep them strong, because especially in these times, I'm afraid public education is a bit at risk, so I will continue to fight for that if I'm reelected.
Next up. Okay. Actually, I was motivated because I felt a need to get involved based upon the resurgence of the powers of ignorance in this country. I thought that it was necessary because it appeared to me that public education is imperiled, and I want to do what I can to ensure that we maintain a strong public education here in Fairport, and that's the reason.
Well, like Kevin and Joyce, I strongly believe in public education, and I think it's important to serve to be sure that it continues to thrive as it has as a tradition in our great country. Personally, having retired as a principal, that job usually takes about 60 hours a week. So I needed something to fill my time, and I always call the school board my withdrawal plan from the principalship because I love Fairport schools. I'm deeply invested in them. I love being able to visit our students and their teachers and staff in the various buildings and to work to keep the quality of education that we're known for here in Fairport.
I'm running for the school board because, well, I have 5 children, and they're all going to be here in the Fairport schools at one point. And so I am highly invested in their education and their learning, and that of all children. I'm running for school board because I love this. This is exciting stuff, and I love teachers. I know how important they are, and how important students are, and how important that relationship is, because there you're creating this love of learning, and that is so vital to everyone, that they continue to have this lifelong love of learning. I'm running for school board because I feel like it gives me a good broad view, and at one point I'm going to need that broad view of the schools, where I have one in high school, one in junior high, and in elementary school. And I am grateful for this opportunity to run and to answer questions. Thanks.
So when I ran for the open position last summer, I wanted to get involved and, kind of continue to be a part of the school systems. But I sit here today after being on the board for a few months, and what I really am passionate about right now is being involved in helping build a plan for the district to ensure that we can continue to be the district we are today, the 3- and 5-year plan that we really need to put together and really take a look at all of our schools, where we're at, and really where we're going to go, so that in a few years, as these kids come through, the opportunities they get continue to grow, and we don't have to give anything up.
The reason I chose was, first and foremost, I wanted to give back to the community that gave to me to be a lifelong learner. Another reason is I value education. And I also want my children received a high-quality education, and I feel that it's very important for the future of the children in Fairport to continue to receive the high-quality education that I received and that my children received. And also, as a proponent, I am an employee of public education, and firsthand, I know day-to-day what goes on in a classroom. And I think with my knowledge of that and my voice, whether it's not in Fairport schools, it's in another school district, but I believe I can bring that knowledge back and share that voice among the community here in Fairport.
All right, thank you, candidates. Now on to Piper.
Our next question is going to begin with Kevin Glover. If there were one thing you would change about Fairport schools, what would it be and why?
Well, as I've said, Fairport is an excellent school district, so that's a tough question. I think that I would probably say that we do have an issue, or have had an issue in the past, with incidents of bullying. And I think that education regarding bullying should be pushed down all the way to kindergarten, first grade level. And in my opinion, I don't think that it's been done to the extent that it should be because the problems persist. And I'd say that's probably the thing that I would change. But once again, Fairport is an excellent school district, so it's kind of hard to pick out something to improve.
Certainly, that's true. We are very proud of who we are. Who we are is shifting a bit as time goes on, which I guess is natural. And we know that today we have a much higher poverty rate than we did even 5 years ago. So in terms of looking at change, a big focus for me and for our board has been equity, so that all students have equitable opportunities to participate. And in looking at equity and planning forward, also another change would be, now that we have a superintendent who we hope will be with us for a while, including the community in our conversations about future planning.
I agree. Fairport is excellent. If there were anything that we could improve upon, because while we are excellent, we're not perfect, and that's okay. It's great to be able to improve in areas and to grow. I would improve upon the consistency within the district between in grades, like that all the grades are doing the same thing and that kids are having consistency as they transition into new schools, and that there's a clear vision for the district, and that vision is carried from the lower kindergarten all the way through school, and those kids catch that vision in the younger grades, and then they move up with that, and the teachers have that, and so we're all interconnected and all working together. I'd also improve upon communication and having better distribution methods of getting information out to the community and what we're doing, and putting it in a format that they can digest it. Thanks.
I think for me, if there's anything I could change, assuming money was no object, which I know that's not the case, but is the learning environments that we teach our kids in. I'd love to see more of the hack labs and the open spaces and the project-based type learning environments, so the kids just can each child can learn at their own pace and their own way and have multiple opportunities in different spaces, and not all the learning happens behind the desk.
I actually have a couple of things. One is going to go, I know with budget constraints, and I know as an educator myself, professional development is always an area of concern. And being a teacher, I know that there's things constantly changing, and I would hope that, as Marcy had said, that there would be money no object, having the money to provide our educators, our teachers, with professional development. The other thing that I would like to see is a change. I don't think our teachers are top-notch here. Our curriculum is on board. The area that I would like to see change would be some of the facilities. And I know we're in the capital project, but I've been here, like I said, lifelong. I've lived in this district for 52 years. And there are some things that are the same here that it was when I went to high school back in the 70s and the 80s that need to change. So I really think we need to improve on our facilities to be up with the correct century.
I am going to pick up where you left off, because that's just what I was going to say, is facilities. We are working towards upgrades and making some changes. I wish it could move along faster, but money being the object it is, and the fact that every project takes so long because there are regulations, there are laws, you can begin it today, it's years before it actually comes to fruition because of all of the state regulations and paperwork, and wait for Albany to approve and all of those things. So if there was something I could change, I would say I would upgrade the facilities more quickly and, in a wider, broader way.
Thank you, candidates.
All right, our next question will begin with Mrs. Cardona. A lot of tough choices will face Fairport schools in the near future. How will you ensure that there is a clear vision that maintains the values of Fairport?
So as we look towards change, we've started that process now in the board with partners from various different groups throughout the district in this district planning team. That will expand as time goes on and as we see the results of our building utilization study and weave that into our building conditions survey. So all those are important pieces. And I know that our superintendent has begun a question and answer page online for people who do have questions as we move forward. I do think it's important to have regular communication to the staff and the community to invite them to participate in our discussions, which is always the case in terms of public comment at school board meeting, but I think we'll do even more planning in community groups as we go forward. I see the time ending there.
Do you mind repeating the question really quick? Thanks.
All right, the question was, a lot of tough choices will face Fairport schools in the near future. How will you ensure that there is a clear vision that maintains the values of Fairport?
All right. To do this, I feel like as a district we need to have clear objectives. We need to define what those objectives are, and then we need to figure out the key people that are going to be involved with making those clear objectives happen. And after we've done that, or while we're doing that, we have a plan of how we're going to achieve these clear objectives. We're moving forward in the future. Our community is changing, and we need to know where we're going. And if we have clear ideas about where that is happening, we'll know how to get there. And there may be tough decisions that come up as we proceed forward that we can't avoid, but I think as we explain our decisions and we have a purpose and a reason behind them, that people will understand why we have to make the decisions we make. But those decisions won't be as tough, I feel, if we can define where we want to go and how we want to get there and who's going to help us to get there. And I don't think we'll lose the Fairport spirit within that because Fairport is unique and wonderful. Thanks.
I think for me, just to kind of echo some of that, is the plan, is where do we want to go and how do we want to get there. Not coming from an educational background, coming from the business side, I feel that the teachers and the administrators in this district are the best people to tap into to help us build that plan because they know what they need. They live it every day, and that's who I want to hear from to help build that plan, along with the different people that Marty talked about with the building conditions survey and reviewing our facilities. All those things need to come together, and that plan is the way that I see that we're really going to be able to help ensure that this district stays the way it is.
I'm going to jump on that idea of the plan because I think that's essential. And I think, as it's been stated before, it's important to have all the stakeholders involved. And I think the stakeholders are the key people are the administration, the teachers, anyone who's involved in the educational aspect of a day-to-day business. It's not just the teachers and the administrators. It could be the custodians, anyone who helps the day go on, as well as the community and the parent involvement. So you have to be sure that all the important people are involved. And once you have that plan and your goal in mind, I think what's going to be pivotal is to have that open communication and that ongoing communication so it's very transparent and there's nothing that's not being communicated back and forth.
Well, as been stated many times, it is the plan, and it is ongoing right now. It's coming together. It will depend on our building use survey, building conditions, so many different things. And we do have some committees already working on this within the district. I expect we will have more. And I do think it's important to bring in as many voices as possible. Certainly our teachers, our administrators need to be a piece of this, and I would like to see community members involved in it as well, as it is their money that we will be spending to do all of this. And so the plan is ongoing, and our fairly new superintendent has gotten it off the ground, and I know we'll carry it forward.
I think not only do we need to have strategic planning for reduction in enrollment over time, which takes into account all of the factors that the other individuals here have mentioned, but we also need an aspirational plan. Fairport is one of the better districts in this area, but it's my thought that we could be one of the better districts in the state, if not the country. For instance, we could possibly look at offering an international baccalaureate. I know that we did in the past, and for various reasons, we decided that that was not the direction that we wanted to go, but times change. So in addition to looking forward to a smaller district and making some tough choices, I think that we can look forward to 10 seconds. We can look forward to 10 seconds when we should plan for a greater future for Fairport.
All right, thank you, candidates.
Next, we will begin with candidate Petra Evans. On the Monroe County School Board website, it states school board members do not involve themselves in operating the school district, but do receive regular process and progress reports. How is the school board role different from that of the superintendent and district administration?
Well, that's a fun question. All right, so the school board acts as an advisory board to the superintendent, and so we can help to advise him on things that we have seen and heard from people that we are in contact with. And as a board, being aware of what's going on with our teachers and with our students and inside the buildings, as we gather this information, we can talk about it and counsel about it, and then work with the superintendent and with others in the district to proceed forward in a manner that meets the needs of our district and helps us to move forward in a positive and excellent manner. I'm going to end there. Thanks.
I do agree. It's that advisory position, bringing the communities. We represent the community, bringing the community their desires, their wishes, helping make sure that their tax dollars are spent accordingly. But the superintendent really is the person that brings the recommendations to us, and then we discuss and go from there. So he has the responsibility for all of the things that happen within the district ultimately, and that our job there is to just ensure that all of the children are being advocated for, the community is being advocated for, and that's why.
Hi. I look at it as it is an advisory position, but it's also a collaborative position where we're working together, where the superintendent has that knowledge and that from the school perspective of what's going on in the schools, and then we represent the community, and then we work together to collaborate what's best for everyone, for the students of Fairport School District. And it's up to us to be aware of what's going on in the community and in the schools, to be on top of things and just in education in general, so that we can bring all that information to the table when different situations or constraints or anything comes up to the table. We have that background and that ability to move forward with discussions and collaboration.
We are elected so that we are here to represent the community. We are their voice. Our main jobs are to hire the superintendent, to write policy, and then the superintendent takes that policy and has to enforce it. When we write our policy, we do it as a team. We reach out to those who will have to live with this policy, enforce the policy. Sometimes those are the administrators or the athletic director. It depends on which policies that we are looking at, but we take everybody's advice into consideration. But basically, the superintendent runs the district. He and his assistant superintendents and the administrators make major decisions, we like to be kept in the loop so that we are aware of what's going on while these decisions are made. And many of them we do have to approve, so that we have to be intimately involved in knowing the details, not determining them, but knowing them.
Yes, it's my understanding that we work collaboratively with the superintendent, but we're also basically his boss. So he executes the policies that are adopted, and we make sure that those are in the best interests of the students, the teachers, the faculty, and of course the taxpayers. So once again, it's a collaborative and employer relationship.
And I would say similarly that, certainly those have been on the board in the last couple of years know we spent about 2 years hiring a superintendent. We're very satisfied with the one that we did hire, and we do work collaboratively with him. The board members write policy, the superintendent and his administrative team carry that out. Now, as we write policy and as we collaboratively work on budgets, it is so important for us to hear from our constituents, so we always welcome the input. Usually we get that through email, sometimes by public comment at the meeting. So as board members, we're very responsible to the community who elected us and enjoy a collaborative relationship with the superintendent.
Thank you, candidates.
Now candidate Marcy Hosford will begin our next question. Bullying has become a big problem in the elementary and middle schools level. Much of it is targeted at minority populations, both religious and racial minorities. How do you plan to address this, especially considering our increasingly diverse population?
Okay. Well, I think that Fairport in general does a wonderful job in heading a lot of that off from the beginning. The concept of Fairport family, the asset groups that we have within the district, we do a really good job from what I've seen and experienced with my own kids to head that off. But keeping that in the forefront, making sure we have the discussions with kids at all ages is going to be very important. And to ensure that there's this open communication and that all students feel that if they are being bullied, that they know who they can go to and where. And that there's, for me, it's really just that open communication and understanding, keeping the conversation going so that it's not a taboo or anything, that people know they can talk to someone if they need to.
I think Fairport has done a nice job. I've had my own personal experience with it with my own child. And I believe a couple of things. I think that Fairport, a big thing is going to be communication. I think communication between school and between home. But I also feel that it's also a big parent issue. Not an issue, but a big parent thing, that parents need to be very aware of what's going on in their children's lives to keep that open communication at home as well, and not just lie solely on the at school, and that, like I said, that communication goes back and forth. In terms of the educational aspect, I think you have to have that training for the teachers, that awareness and that professional development, so that the educators are aware of how to handle the bullying, which I think the district has done a nice job with. But I also do believe very much so that the communication between home and schools is very, very important, and to keep that open for the parents in the school as well.
As a Board of Education, I feel it's our responsibility to give our staff the tools to address the problem. We ourselves can't address it, but we need to set up things so that they can address it. We certainly have laws on our side. The DASA law is enforced. We write policy, which can be carried out and must be carried out. We fully support our Brotherhood Sisterhood programs, our asset programs. We have hired counselors. We've brought in strong mental health to help students with this, so that we try to give everyone as many tools and are open to all suggestions and community members coming forward to let us know if they feel there's something more that we should be doing, but our responsibility is to give everyone in the district the tools to help the students with this.
In my opinion, this is a problem that exists not just in the school district, but in society in general. And I think that the answer is education. And I don't think that necessarily investing in more teacher training is going to resolve the problem. I would venture to guess that if we were to invest those dollars in further sensitivity training for children at all levels, we might get more bang for our buck. Once again, that's my opinion, and I haven't researched the question, but that's my gut feeling.
I think although it's a topic near and dear to my heart from the school board perspective, I agree with Joyce that our tools to work with that are both policy and financial resources, and making those available to our staff to work with students, and in terms of education, teacher education, parent education, or student education. I know that last year we were able to fund a position of equity coordinator, which is part-time, but that person has been able to work with a seed program that helps teachers understand more about diversity and how to manage those conversations within the school. Recently, we've had the screenagers filming for students and families, since we know that electronics is a main form of bullying these days. So again, basically, time is short here, but I'd say policy and financial resources are keys to that.
Going along with what everyone said, I feel like a key ingredient into helping against eradicating bullying from our schools, which may never happen, but hopefully we can make great strides in it, I feel, is education and understanding. Every form of bullying has a different reason as to why it's happening, and the one approach doesn't work. We need to be able to have the flexibility to approach bullying when it's happening in a manner that will best help to eradicate that bullying. I believe that as we increase understanding and learning between students, and as they interact more with those that are different than them and come to get to know them and have a better understanding, that the fear and the misunderstandings that can occur will dissipate. And thank you.
Thank you, candidates.
And now candidate Renee Frazee will begin our next question. Fairport has a rich history of providing student opportunities to enrich learning and build relationships through overnight field trips. Do you believe we should continue our tradition of providing school-sponsored overnight field trips?
Glad I got this one. Actually, I was talking about this last night. Yes, I do. I do believe that we should continue the field trips, and I know that's a hot topic right now. My children were involved in overnight field trips, and the experiences that they have gotten over there, the relationships that they had from after that they didn't have before because they went on those trips. By far, some of them, they made lasting friendships and relationships that they didn't have before. The relationships that they incurred with the teachers and the administration that went on those trips just helped them become a better person than from before. So I do think that they should continue. I know there's a topic of conversation as to some differences about that, but I think it's a valuable experience for all children involved.
Well, I'm not sure I can do this one in a minute.
I know.
Because it's more than just conversation and topics. It's a legal issue right now. The attorneys that our district employ had a seminar because they saw all the districts struggling with this and crossing the line of the law. And so brought us all in and gave us all of the legal aspects of this. And we, a lot of it is that we cannot be responsible. Our insurance can't cover certain things. We can't put taxpayer dollars at risk for these. So as much as I would love to tell you, I think we should have all of the trips and we should sponsor them all, we can't any longer do that because of legal issues. So we are looking for alternate ways for these to occur. We would certainly want them to continue because I know that they are valuable, and there goes 10 seconds. So we are looking for alternate ways to handle this, and we will have to move forward with the help of our attorneys to try to get this straightened out.
I would agree that we should continue to have these field trips, and we should find a way to make them happen. Whether that means some form of alternative insurance or self-indemnification for the parents of the children, release forms. I think that they're a valuable learning experience for the children and shouldn't be done away with.
I agree that the field trips are important and that I would want to see them continue. And I went to the same law seminar with Joyce where we heard about some of the issues that face districts today. So I hope that we will, and I'm confident that we will, find a way to continue these opportunities for our students, even though the organization of them might look slightly different. Another piece that's important to me as we continue those, again, is going back to what I said earlier about the 20% poverty rate, close to that here in the district, and providing access to students so we don't further divide groups of those that can afford to attend trips that often cost several $1,000s and those that cannot. Because to me, that's important in terms of the culture of our community.
It looks like this isn't an easy answer. Obviously, I would also like to see these kind of trips continue. But it is a matter if we can do them, and it sounds like we are working towards making sure that that is something that can continue to happen. But we need to be realistic about it, and if it is something that can't continue to happen, that we are transparent about that, and we have let the community and the students and the staff understand why we are making the decisions that we are making. We also need to look at these trips and see if there are other ways that we can replicate these experiences if we can't do overnight trips. How can we make sure our students are still getting these great experiences? I don't think that the world will end if school overnight trips are discontinued for the foreseeable future because of the law. But I think we should do everything that we can to keep these unique experiences available to our students. Thanks.
So I think I kind of agree with everybody to a certain extent from what was already said. But one of the things when we did find out about the law and what we can and can't do related to overnight trips was made me think about what can we as a community do to help ensure some of these experiences. You know, everything isn't the school's responsibility. It is us as parents and us as community members. And I think there's a lot of opportunity if the laws say that the school district can't own these things, that we as a community can kind of step up and do to, one, ensure and help on the equity discussion that Marty brought up, you know, just as well as help continue experiences that the school may or may not be able to continue to do.
Thank you, candidates.
All right, Ms. Kostik, how would you balance the urge to implement new initiatives with the knowledge and expertise of the teachers who have different views?
That's a good one. Let's see. Well, our teachers are our educators, and I trust and value them tremendously. Initiatives, well, we've had many of them. We've gone through, the state gives us certain things. Our board, our administrators, there are many different opinions on different initiatives. We currently have a new initiative, and I imagine this is where the question comes from, is in our lower grades, we have a play-based learning for our kindergarten. It is also being brought forward into the first and second grades. That came afterwards. The initiative was basically for kindergarten, but others have decided that bringing it to first and second is a good idea as well. So I support that if that is, when that was brought to us. It's based, I think the main thing is we base these decisions on research. I believe in science, I believe in research, and research tells us specific things, and I do think we have to honor that research and utilize it. Sometimes it does cause some consternation and differences of opinions, but that's usually what we look at.
I would agree that the new initiative would need to be evaluated and based upon its efficacy. The considerations of the teachers should be taken into account. If the program is working but the teachers don't like it, then we may have some conflict that we have to deal with. But if it's not working and the teachers don't like it, I don't see where there's an issue. Once again, the initiatives have to be evaluated on a standalone basis. If they produce the results that are expected, then there are two different ways that we can take into account the desires of the teachers who have to implement the initiative.
So to me, this is such an interesting question. I want to go back to my principal days when I answer it, but I won't. From the board perspective, I would say our role is to have clarified the vision and formed some goals, and then it goes to actual administration to talk about how those will be implemented. So I think when you look at it through that lens, taking the part that Joyce said that I very much believe too about research, you have the science of teaching that's related to that research piece, but you also have the art of teaching. And in my years as a teacher, in my years as a principal, and certainly still as a grandparent of students, I guess would be my role now, I would say that the artistry that we treasure here in our Fairport teachers is something that we want to preserve. And so that, to me, is a very important element of this whole conversation.
I think we can agree that all parties involved have the best interest, the interests of the students in hand. That's where their interest lies, and that's what we're here for, is for these students. I would hope that, I may be being naive here, but I would hope that as initiatives come up, that we are already in discussions with the players that initiative is going to affect, and that when the initiative goes through, that a lot of those disagreements have been worked out to a point where we may still disagree on points, but we've come together in a way that, and compromised in a way that it benefits everyone involved. Again, not everyone's going to be happy with everything that everyone tries to do. We all have a clear vision. We all have an endpoint that we want to get to, but how we get there might be different. And I think as we come together and as we take the opportunity to understand where we're coming from and why the other person thinks the way that they think and how we should do things, that we can maybe not 100% agree on things, but we can get up into the 80s and 90% and move forward with initiatives that help the students. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Petra, kind of what you were saying about not having an initiative be ruled out and it'd be a surprise to anybody, and that these things have been vetted and discussed within the with the teachers and the administration before they roll out, I think is going to be important. And then as long as the initiatives or whatever programs we're talking about are supported by research, and that they do have shown some benefit to the children and to the classroom, then obviously that makes sense. And then just working with the teachers to understand, why it's not working for them, and making sure there's room to have that ability to interpret the goal of it, and to apply it to the classroom and to their students the way they see fit. Because again, everybody learns differently, and we need to be able to teach each of our kids the way they need to be taught, so that they get the best out of each thing.
The initiative should come out of the vision on why we're doing what we're doing, or what the purpose is. And I agree with what many of the board candidates have said. It should come from research-based. And then those goals are developed, and I think there should be that ongoing communication between the stakeholders. And I also believe strongly that there needs to be a timing put in place, so that once the initiative is established and set, that there's the appropriate timing, so that the people who have to implement it have enough time to get the proper professional development or whatever they need to roll out the initiative. And what I think is crucial is that feedback, or that evaluation piece, is to make sure that, is it working, is it not working, or what needs to be done to tweak it? Because if it's not, then you need to change it.
All right, thank you, candidates.
Our next question is going to begin with Kevin Glover. Do you believe the school board should be involved with addressing the declining enrollment problem? If so, what do you think should be done?
Well, I think we have to be involved in the declining enrollment problem, because we have to determine which of our facilities are going to continue to be utilized. We're going to need to make plans for budgeting. We need to plan for personnel. We need to right size, hopefully through attrition over time, our staff to accommodate a lower number of students enrolled. So absolutely, we need to plan over a short and long time frame for reduced enrollments and increased poverty levels. So those two things are going to be very trying. And of course, we have 10 seconds left. And we're always going to have the considerations of funding. And in addition, we should look at, once again, aspirational goals where we are the best.
I'm listening to, not ready to talk. Anyway, yes, I think we absolutely have to be involved in it, and we have been involved in addressing declining enrollment. There are so many factors involved with that, as Kevin pointed out, in terms of staffing, in terms of facilities, and in terms of program. But it does give us a great opportunity to look at what we want in the future and to shape how we want to use those resources to bring about our vision and goals that we establish. I don't see declining enrollment as a reflection of anything that is wrong in Fairport. I think actually more the problem of declining enrollment is people like myself who have lived in the community a long time and perhaps own their homes and are staying in their homes. And so we're not turning over to younger families. So I don't see it at all as a reflection on the school district, but just an opportunity for us to build a future that continues to provide the great education that we're accustomed to.
Declining enrollment is an issue that this district is dealing with, and other districts around the United States are dealing with it as well. There are factors that play into declining enrollment that we as a school district cannot control, but there are things that we can control, especially our reaction to declining enrollment. I think the board should be involved with what is going on with declining enrollment. I know that tough decisions have been made, and tough decisions may still have to be made because of what happens with declining enrollment. But I think as we have a clear plan, and because we know this is happening, we can make a clear plan to get before this, before it gets out of control. And whether that is moving grades around to different buildings or moving boundaries around to school districts, for school boundaries, that we can come up with something to make sure that our staff is provided for and our students are provided for, and that Fairport continues to be an excellent school district. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, declining enrollment isn't necessarily a problem. It just is. It's kind of where we are in this community. And the way the board needs to be involved in that is to make sure that they have that visibility to what those are, and then work with the superintendent and the district to ensure that we can be planful in how we're going to deal with that. And there's probably many different ways to address it as we go through it, because we see what's coming through from K through 12, and that fluctuates very much, and it's one of those things that you just never know. One year you don't have a lot of kids for whatever reason, there could be an influx that comes in the community. So as much as we want to plan and try for these things, there's always going to be the anomalies that happen, but the visibility to it is what's key. And then ensuring that as we work through it, we continue to keep the programs and the education that the students have today, and that doesn't get affected as we deal with that.
I think the school board has to be involved in dealing with declining enrollment, because enrollment directly affects staffing, which directly has an impact on programming, which directly impacts the facilities that are here in Fairport. And those things, enrollment is something that we can't control. And I would agree with what Marty said. It's like the older people like ourselves, who our kids are grown up and we choose to continue to live in the district, and not allow those young families to come in. But I think the most important thing is to continue to maybe look ahead to see projections and to have a long-range plan. You can't always, like Marcy said, plan for what the future is going to be, but to have some sort of vision so that you can be planful as enrollment might continue to decline, as well as the most important thing is to hold on to the programming and the wonderful things that we do provide for our students here in the district.
We as a board have been very much involved in the lower enrollment situation. It has actually provided us some opportunities, because the lower enrollment, of course, began in the younger grades, and it takes time before it passes up to the upper grades. And in the lower grades, we were able to have room to go to full-day kindergarten, which a number of years ago we would not have been able to do because of the numbers. But we had enough room and enough classrooms that we could go to full-day kindergarten. We also had at one point our elementary, the board has for many years had wanted small class sizes in the lower grades, and they began to creep up. But with the lower enrollment, we were able to reduce those classes again. So our kindergartens, first, second grades that are so critical were able to be reduced to smaller size. And so now they're moving up, and some other tough choices have to be made. But for a while, it has given us some opportunities, and I hope it will give us some other opportunities in the future. And my time is up.
Thank you for your responses.
All right, we have time for one more question, but we are going to be shortening the response time to 30 seconds apiece. So kind of got a speed round here. All right, it's an easier one, though. We're going to be starting with Mrs. Cardona. And the question is, what are the top 3 aspects that make Fairport schools unique and vibrant?
I would say certainly the community that we have built among our schools, which includes our parents, our teachers, our students, and all of our staff really coming together uniquely. I think secondly has to do a lot with what you do in terms of assets and the feeling tone that exists within the district. And even though we did talk about bullying tonight, I feel that this district is doing an outstanding job in addressing, oh my gosh, I forgot it was 30 seconds, addressing mental health issues and respect for diversity, the whole CARE initiative, brotherhood, sisterhood, and so on, I think makes us very unique. And lastly, I would say our focus on the whole child and developmentally appropriate programming.
All right. 3 things. There's a lot of things, but I'll try to narrow it down. I agree with the community that Marty talked about. I believe that there is just this feeling of wanting to be better and wanting to do better, and that we're all invested into what is going on in this district, and that we love this district. And I think that is very important. I think we are a smart district. We try to do research. We try to involve all the people into communicating into what we're supposed to do. And I love the school district. Thank you.
Okay, 30 seconds. So for me, I think number one is the concept of the Fairport family. I think, if anything, that is what I have seen my kids kind of thrive in having that feeling of community and just enjoying to go to school. I don't remember enjoying to go to school as much as I feel like my kids have. And it's directly attributed to the experiences they get and that feeling of family. The importance of mental health for our district, I think for me is key. The mindfulness concepts, being self-aware, we all need to do that, and I think we're focusing on that. And finally, that there's not one way to learn, and we're open to giving students multiple venues in how they learn throughout the day.
I'm going to say focusing on the whole child, that looking at it not just as an academic perspective, but looking at the social emotional learning of a child, which I think sometimes districts tend to look away from, I think is key and incredibly important. I think the Fairport community is huge here. Just the parents, families, teachers, educators, everything right up to the superintendent, and the social emotional, the brotherhood, sisterhood week, the assets, it's just outstanding because not many districts offer that.
I would say relationships that develop in the district. The school board spends several hours every month visiting a school building, and we always have students who walk us around. I always ask them, what do you like best about this school? And I would say 90+% of the time the response is my teachers. They know me, they like me, they care about me. I go back to my 2nd grade teacher, or I'm in 8th grade and I go back to my 6th grade teacher, whatever. There are relationships that are built here, 10 seconds already, that I think carry a lifetime with our students. The Fairport family, our community involvement, I think we have many things that make us a wonderful district.
I have 4.
In 30 seconds.
First of all, I'll try to keep it short. First of all, I don't think anyone will gainsay me when I say that our students are number one. In addition, the educators and staff are talented and dedicated, probably the best in this area. The Fairport spirit, and of course we have a supportive community. And I told you I'd keep it short. That's it.
At this time, we will hear each candidate's closing statement, starting with Petra Evans.
Again, I just want to say that I'm truly grateful that we've been able to raise our family here in these schools. I am grateful every day. Every time I talk with my kids' teachers, I'm there to tell them I'm so grateful that my kids come home happy and they want to go back and learn the next day. And I'm just so grateful for that. What you teachers are doing, our teachers are doing to cultivate this love of learning, because that will go with our children and help them to succeed throughout their lives. I think it's really important as we go forward that we define our objectives. We have a clear vision of where we're expecting Fairport to go, and that we are involving all the cooks in the kitchen, because there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen, and that we are getting together and we are talking about what is happening, and that we have those clear objectives and we have the steps that we're going to take to get there. There's flexibility in there, but that we know we're headed this direction. I think it's really important to understand where everyone is coming from, and that even though we might not end up agreeing on everything, that we can come to compromises and we can agree to disagree on some things, but know that what we're doing is in the best interest of all the parties that are involved. Our world is changing, and Fairport needs to continue to move forward and evolve with that and adapt to the changes that are happening in our community. And as we go forward and as we are transparent in what we are doing and why we're doing that, that people will understand, and there may be some grumbling, but I think that we can move forward together in what we are doing, and that Fairport can keep its unique spirit, that spirit of Fairport that everyone here has been talking about, and that love for students. And we won't lose our uniqueness as we adapt to what is going on around us with a clear vision, clear objectives, and a clear way of how we're getting there. Thank you.
So having had the privilege, as I said before, of being on the board for the last few months, I feel like we really have a vision that we're really trying to achieve and put a plan around on how to best implement it. It's been so exciting working with everybody to see this with so many great ideas that coming from the board members and Brett and the district, and for me, just being able to continue to help build out that plan to ensure that we can implement all the great ideas that we have to keep this district moving forward, because I think there's so many things that we know we can do and that we want to do. We all have our hearts in the right place, making sure that our students are as successful as they can be. So for me, I'm so excited to see what is happening and what is going to happen, I think, in our district based on the last few months that I've had.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of myself as a school board candidate. And I just want to say thank you. It takes a village to truly, I know you hear that all the time, but it is so true. It does take a village to raise a child. And all the stakeholders involved, community, parents, educators, faculty, all are so important in our children's lives and education. I just want you to know that both my husband and I, as I said before, we are both Fairport graduates. I have two children that are successful graduates. One is employed in the career that he went to college for. He actually has a job in his career that he went to college for, and part of that is due to Fairport High School. My other son is a 4.0 student at RIT right now in his junior year. And my daughter is a junior here at Fairport High School and absolutely loves it and has been provided so many opportunities and loves what she does. And I think that's all because of the vision that Fairport has and everything that they've done here. And I would like to continue that vision and that plan to build for a solid, strong future for the children that are coming through Fairport School District. And I think that we can do it if we all work together.
I, too, am very grateful for the education that my sons received here and the opportunities that they received in Fairport. I have felt honored to serve on this board. If I'm allowed to continue to serve, I will continue to strongly advocate for public education. It is so very important. This will mean that I will stand up always for our students, our teachers, our staff as a whole, our parents, our community. I have many times pushed back at Albany at, when things have come down to us that we didn't feel were fair. I will always voice my opinion. Everyone may not agree with it, but I will always stand up for what I think is right. I will continue to be what I feel is a good steward of our community finances, our district finances, and I will always strive to do more and be the very best board member that I can be. And thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
The Fairport school community in many ways is like a three-legged stool. The three legs consist of three major constituencies. One is the students and the parents, another is the teachers, staff, and administrators, and finally, there are the other taxpayers, voters, and others who live in the district. If any of those three legs of the stool are not supportive of the mission of the district, the stool wobbles at best and collapses in the worst-case scenario. We must keep all of these constituents in our Fairport school community satisfied with the direction of the district. Now, how is that accomplished? By challenging our students through accelerated coursework and by making sure that non-college bound students, non-traditional students, have opportunities to reach their potential. Also, by dealing forthrightly with our teachers and staff. They are, after all, tasked with creating the future by educating our children. They deserve our respect and a seat at the table when substantive decisions are being made regarding rules and regulations, right sizing of the workforce, etc. And by ensuring that the taxpayers and others are confident that the board safeguards the district's assets and makes sound budgetary decisions, among other things. Now, increasing class size, in my opinion, should be a last resort. Since decreasing student enrollment trends over time, reducing staffing levels should be accomplished through attrition in most instances. Strategic planning should avoid future shocks to the system, such as when 38 members of the Fairport school community are lost in one fell swoop. We have amazing students, talented and dedicated teachers, staff, and administrators, and a supportive community. So I say, why not Fairport? Why not the best? Remember to vote on May 16th for the budget, and for me. Not necessarily in that order. Thank you.
Well, those are some pretty powerful statements. But I think we've come through a time just in the last 6 years that I've been on the board of great turbulence, and I think that that has affected all of us in one way or another, hopefully least of all our students, but certainly our staff and somewhat our community. And that has primarily been due to the changes that we've endured. Certainly we have fiscal constraints going on at the same time, but for us right here in our own house in Fairport, it's been the change in leadership. I'm really excited to say that I feel like now we're in the best position in my 6 years on the board because we have a superintendent who plans to stay with us. And working with him, we have been able to establish our core beliefs as a board and use those as we write our visions and write our goals for the future. So I feel like we're the clearest that we've ever been, and we have clear leadership both from the board and from the superintendent and his team to carry that out. So we're poised in that way. We need to be balanced. We need to find a way that we can sustain the excellence that we're used to and to make plans for the future that continue to expand on that. I'm excited to be part of it. It's been an honor to serve, and I hope to be able to serve you in the next 3 years.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, candidates, for coming out tonight. We can take a deep breath. It's over. Thank you, everyone who's been watching this at your home, live on our webcast. And thank you, students, for a spectacular job in taking this seriously. It's always such a wonderful opportunity, and it speaks to, I have to call the question, where else would you rather be? It's a spectacular district with phenomenal candidates, awesome students, and I want to draw your attention. You'll soon get your commentator to get more information, and all our candidates are in there. And also remember, again, May 16th to get out and to vote. Thank you all, and have a pleasant evening and safe travels.